Well, welcome back to the Unbox and Funcast, I suppose. We'll see, maybe. So today is Friday the 21st. Mm-hmm. So we leave, probably I'll post this tomorrow. So within a day of posting this, we will be on our way to GAMA Expo 2025.
Yep.
This is the big trade show for people in the tabletop gaming industry. We've talked about it. We talked about it a little bit on the last show. But I thought this show, a cool thing to do would be to just kind of run through our very, very packed schedule.
Yeah, we actually do sort of as a group over the course of a week or two before the trade show, we go through the official schedule and some other possibilities for meeting with publishers and things like that, and make ourselves a schedule because there's 4 of us going. And we try to pack as much in as we can, but that also means splitting up tasks. Who's most interested in hearing from this publisher? Who wants to learn about this topic? What are things that we think are must-sees? So who's going to go to those? All that kind of thing.
It may seem like, cool, there's 4 of us, so we can do everything. We still can't.
No, absolutely not.
There's a whole sidebar of like, I'd love for someone to see this, but all of us have something else going on at the same time.
So all 4 of us at some point are going to be giving our own seminars, and parallel to the seminar I'll be giving on indie RPGs with Dan B., there are a couple of other seminars other people are giving that I would love to be able to attend.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of occasions like that all through where there were 2 or 3 things I really wish I could have seen. There's only one of me. I had to pick one of them. So,
yeah. And I mean, the show is really 4 full days. We're driving up on Sunday. We're driving back on Friday. There's a couple things Sunday, really nothing Friday, but Monday through Thursday, packed to the gills.
Days and nights, it's worth mentioning, because well into the evening, there are open play events where there will be just a huge room with tables set up all throughout it. It's very loud. And you can just kind of bounce from table to table and check out what publishers really want you to see that time around. And so, there will be reps from those publishers demoing the games. Sometimes even the designers might be there. But in any case, it's a really educational opportunity for us. But it is busy, it is loud, it is tiring, and it goes late.
Yeah, and that's just one option. I mean, actually, you don't have to go to those things. There are publishers that throw parties.
Yep. Yeah, there's an Arkham horror-themed party that Asmodee is throwing.
Asmodee's doing an Arkham soiree. So I know some people who are coming dressed up. They've got their 20s garb. There's also like, none of us are interested in it, but I think I just read that there's going to be a Star Wars Unlimited draft tournament. Yeah. Because again, people in this industry, whether you're a publisher or a retailer, we're all gamers.
Absolutely.
And I've done that actually. I remember, which game was it? There was a GAMA I went to right when, the Keyforge.
Oh, yeah.
Right when Keyforge came out. And they were doing a Keyforge tournament, which was a ton of fun. I participated in a Seven Wonders Duel tournament. So there's stuff like that as an option. Yep. And of course, you're also trying to maybe go out and get dinner at some point.
Because that's the thing. These days are jam-packed. You have to carve out time. Sometimes you have to miss things you would really love to do because it turns out you're an organism and your body requires fuel.
Yeah. And the other thing, and this is now your second year, you start to get to know people in the industry. They become your friends. And this is, for some of us, the one time a year you get to see them.
Yeah.
And even that, sometimes you see them in passing and you're like, oh my gosh, I'd love to catch up. And maybe you get a chance to, maybe you don't, because it's just so
you get
busy.
Carried away by the flood, especially when you're in the exhibit hall. This giant ballroom looking place where it is just filled up with publishers and distributors having their tables and displays showing you what's new, what's coming down the pipeline. And sometimes you can even go and put in pre-orders on things. Maybe they'll give you samples of things. Just, that in itself, it's open for 4-hour windows each of 2 days,
Yes, I
something
think
like
this
that
year,
this
that's
year.
the way it is, yeah.
And you're going to be engaged with stuff the whole 4 hours long, just getting carried along by waves of people. And more than that, waves of interest. You'll be behind a totally different group, and you'll suddenly see all their heads stacked to the left. And you've got to look. What grabbed their attention? Now I have to go over and look at this little publisher booth I had not even noticed before, didn't see it on the map, nothing. And now I'm seeing they've got this amazing board game or RPG or whatever it is that we have to get. And I wouldn't have noticed it if not for someone else's attention.
Right.
You know,
it's very similar if you've been to a gaming convention, if you've been to Origins or Gen Con or PAX or anything like that. The exhibit hall is very similar to the exhibit hall there, except instead of selling, products to the end user, they're selling them to us as a store. Right.
It is retailer focused.
It's retailer focused. But the same energy's there. The same. I remember last year, when I discovered Avant-Garde. And I, just like you would at a regular convention, you see a cool game, you go to your friends, hey, come check out this game. I was pulling retailers over like, hey, come check out this game. You should probably bring this in because I think it's going to do really well in our store.
It is true. And then we go right outside the exhibit hall and find an open bit of floor and just start playing the games that we got some samples of, because in the exhibit hall they don't have time to walk you through the whole game, but they'll talk you through the basics of it and throw a sample pack at you. We run outside when we get a chance and are like, okay, we're gonna flip this open here on the floor and play a few rounds because this is exciting.
Absolutely. So let's just go through kind of what we're doing. So Sunday we're going to drive out. We're here in Pittsburgh. It's in Louisville, about a 6-hour drive. There is programming that starts, I think, as early as noon on Sunday.
I saw some things.
I know some people who get in Saturday night, But we'll drive out Sunday morning to get there. There's something on the schedule at 4 that you and Dan M had mentioned, maybe trying to get to. Amulets of Transformation. Do you remember what that is?
So there, I would love to be able to get to this. No guarantee we will, but I saw a few things on there. So, as one of the managers here at Games Unlimited, Dan M and I are always trying to up our game, to become better managers, to become better sort of community liaisons, all of the stuff that comes with being a game store manager besides the games. I think outside looking in, you just see the games, but there's a lot more to it. There's a lot of managing people, managing expectations, keeping oneself educated, keeping other people educated, so on and so forth. And so this one, Amulets of Transformation, is essentially about being a better manager of a game store. And there are a few, they sort of fantasy themed them to fit the gaming thing, but all throughout the week, there are a few of these things on, sort of like management archetypes and all of this kind of thing. It sounds super businessy, but we have found that sometimes the like corporate businessy stuff, if you keep your soul while doing it, can actually really be helpful. And so clothing it, gamifying it in these ways is really interesting to me, because I want to be able to help my staff better. I want to be able to help my customers better. And so, Amulets of Transformation will hopefully make me and Dan M better game store managers.
Nice, So that starts at 4, which is also when we can check into our Airbnb. So we'll probably drive. I'm hoping to get there around 3. We can get our badges and just get set up as far as the logistics. Some people will go to Amulets. The rest of us will check into the Airbnb. Don't really have anything for Sunday night. Sunday night's actually probably going to be the good time. I'll try to check in. I know I've got a couple friends who are coming to Expo for the first time. Maybe check in with them. But we're also part, like...
Well, we can take them out to dinner, maybe.
We can maybe take them out to dinner. That'll be
help them acclimate.
We're actually part of sort of a consortium of retailers that, but we've worked together over the years and reached out to publishers to have some meetings with publishers. So a lot of the meetings, individuals can meet with publishers at the show too, but we're sort of collaborating with other retailers to meet with several publishers over the course of our time there. And I know Sunday night, the op is going to be meeting with us. So some of us will probably go to that.
It helps to get us more sort of focused time with the publishers, since it's outside of the regular exhibit hall where they're having to split their attention between like 15 different groups that they're trying to pitch to. This way, we're just all in a more organized audience, and they can, they can have their say for 15, 20 minutes straight,
And it's useful for us. It's also very useful for them to get a lot of different retailer perspectives, because if there's one thing I have learned in this industry, retailers are not a monolith. Yeah. The things that work for me and Games Unlimited don't work for someone else, and vice versa. And we all have different ways that we approach our business, approach showing games, approaching bringing things in. So being able to sort of have a room full of retailers that we learn from, but that the publishers can also see, hey, not all retailers are the same.
Yeah, absolutely. We are in a middle-class urban neighborhood. Not every store is. A lot of stores out in the suburbs, maybe even in small towns in the country. Some of, it varies so much. Are you near a college campus? Are you nowhere near a college campus? It does vary so widely. So these are great tools for different retailers to be able to swap notes with the publishers and the designers to let them sort of compare needs.
Yeah. So Sunday night will hopefully be, a little chill, a lot of just, meeting up with people that we haven't seen in a year. And then
eating good food.
A
lot of good food around there.
We'll also be in Louisville, so there might be bourbon. I think they do.
Yeah, I hear tell a few people like bourbon in the area.
So Monday morning, things start off 9 a.m. With the keynote. So GAMA does a keynote. This is usually not a person in the games industry, a person from some sort of business background that's helping out. And I think I should pull it up. The keynote this year, the person's talking about I don't remember off the top of my head. I want to look it up because it sounded very interesting to me. A lot of the keynotes sometimes are like, who knows? But I'll pull that up in a second and talk about it.
I actually liked the keynote last year. It was very broadly on business, but it was a lot on how business is about connections. Which is something that, I really appreciated because I'm a big connections guy. But
you play connections every day?
Actually, sometimes. But yeah, I'm trying to look it up here, and now I'm not finding the... here we go. Unlocking a truly legendary gaming experience for all. So this is a lot more directly gaming focused than last year, and from what I'm told, previous years.
But it is a lot. I remember reading that it's a lot about inclusivity. How to really...
forging community, taking, because gamers are not monoliths either. We talk about retailers not being monoliths. Every single person you find in this hobby is coming from their own background, with their own experiences, their own worldview, all of that. How do you take all of these people, gather them around tables, and make everyone feel equally involved, get everyone on that equal playing field so that we can all have fun playing games? And so, this sort of how do we engage as a community is I think a really great keynote.
So it should hopefully be really cool. So that's going to happen from 9 to 10-ish or so. And then, so there's a couple of really cool things happening at 11 that people are going to. One that I'm not going to be able to make all of it. So there's a lot of content this year for publishers, for all sorts of things. And I really love to hear about other sides of the industry. So there's actually a seminar that's by a publisher for publishers about how to price your games, the strategic way to price them, what good MSRPs are and things. And I'm just fascinated by that. I'm not a publisher, have no desire to be a publisher. But the more information that we have about the broader industry, just the better we are.
Absolutely.
And that level of transparency helps stop you from coming up with ideas in your head, stupid things like, they're intentionally not printing enough of that game because they want to create scarcity. That doesn't happen.
The different layers of this industry can be so like black Sharpie lines separated from one another sometimes that we get a little conspiratorial.
Yeah.
It doesn't help any of us to be that way.
Right.
I want to know more about the operations on different levels, just like you
Absolutely.
do, so that I'm not getting needlessly angry, so that I can actually have a conversation with people and be like, hey, I get why you did things this way. Here's how we see it from our end, and vice versa.
Because it's a huge thing in business. This is the most human way to approach business of any kind, is realizing that when one business is dealing with another business, it has to be a mutually beneficial relationship. I don't want to get something over on another business because I want to continue to have that relationship.
Right.
So, and vice versa. I want to feel like they're not trying to get something over on me. They actually do have my best interest at heart.
Yeah.
And when you realize that, sometimes you can have those frank and honest conversations and realize, hey, what is working for you and what your business needs is something that doesn't actually work for me.
Yeah.
And rather than get angry and be like, oh, they don't care. It's like, no, they need to look out for their business. And then sometimes the situation is such that we can't meet each other's mutually beneficial needs, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do it with other aspects, other products that they sell or something. So, but just having that open conversation is huge.
Yep.
Absolutely huge.
For sure.
Okay, so what do you see? Because we can't go through line by line everything. But what are we seeing here in the early part of Monday?
So we've got, so Dan B is going to the Running Kids RPG events, which I think is really cool, because as we get closer and closer to having our second floor and our gaming space open, we want to do more RPG events. And being able to open those up to kids is really important. Giving kids something like fun and constructive and imaginative to do is a big community thing. But it's also, kids are really fun to run RPGs for. So getting more pointers on that, how to handle larger groups of kids, all that sort of thing. We've got a lot of... So curating a diverse board game selection that Dan M is going to. That sounds really interesting. I was going to pick that, although I might still go to that. I have an empty slot there. One of the few empty slots I've got. Building a more inclusive gaming community.
I think this is by the keynote speaker.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these, there's also what does diversity mean to you a little bit later on. I think this is that keynote speaker. I looked them up, and that's kind of a lot of what they do is help businesses understand that diversity and inclusivity, how to build it, but also how important it is, what it brings to your business.
Yeah, because that's the thing with all that sort of thing, with diversity and inclusion and equity. It is literally good for everybody. It brings more customers in. It brings more designers in. It opens up the publishing side of things to different viewpoints that will find those new audiences. It keeps the money flowing in every direction, and it keeps the ideas bubbling. And in gaming, this is an ideas-based industry, 100%. If we don't have new and interesting ideas, what have we got? We would just have stopped at Monopoly and sorry.
Right. Thankfully, we didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of cool stuff. And that's just, then we get to lunch. There's a seminar that I'm hoping to go to about how to work with content creators. Again, this is another one that's more publisher focused. And, if you're listening to this, you've probably seen a lot of our content on TikTok and Instagram, but I don't consider myself a content creator. I'm a retailer that happens to do content. But I would love to hear more about how publishers forge those relationships with content creators, what content creators need. I recognize that what I'm doing is a little bit different, but there's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of overlap.
Well, and we have friends who are content creators. We are friends with podcasters and YouTubers and people who do things like that. So getting that perspective is valuable on multiple levels.
Absolutely. And then that leads into a seminar that I'm going to be going to called Tapping into TikTok Traffic. This is actually by another retailer who's done amazing on TikTok, and they're fairly new. I think they've only been open a couple of years. But I had a chance to talk to them, meet them, and talk to them last year at GAMA. So I'm very interested in what they have to say about their TikTok journey, how it mirrors mine, how it doesn't. Always cool things to learn for that.
So yeah, I've got 2 in a row here, deciding on enough for your game store and hard lessons. And then Dan B has one parallel, be the boss of your community.
Ooh.
Yeah, right? And all 3 of those, like I would have loved to have gone to the be your boss of your community, but we needed someone to go to the hard lessons one. All of these have to do with the business side of things and sharing information, sharing insights and experiences and hard-won lessons. What works, what doesn't work? How do you have a community grow in a healthy way? How do you have a business grow in a healthy way? How do you know when you have sort of reached the goal of your growth? How do you set that goal in the first place in a way that is realistic, achievable, not overwhelming? You don't want to fall into the catastrophic success side of things any more than the catastrophic failure. So these are just great ways for businesses to network and give each other those insights that they've gained from their own successes and failures.
Yeah, no, those sound amazing. I can't attend them because I'll be giving a seminar on used games. A big thing that I push. I think every retailer should be doing used board games. And I've given this seminar many times before. And then immediately following that, I'll be on a panel of retailers who are taking questions from publishers, publishers who want to know, hey, how can we help retailers? What do retailers wish publishers knew?
Yeah.
So another one of those.
Put the promo in the box.
I'm gonna do my best to keep my mouth shut on that, but I'm sure it will come up. But also, interestingly, what's nice about a panel is the other retailers on that panel may not have a problem with promos. Yeah, and that's totally fine. It shows that we're not a monolith, and that's just the way it's going to go.
Yep.
So that brings us into dinner. There's a game night. The game nights are actually split. There's a board game night, and then there's in a separate room an RPG game night.
Yep.
So that'll be cool. That's Monday evening. Moving into Tuesday, it doesn't stop.
Yep.
So there's a retailer breakfast. So these are I'm gonna say something. I'm going to speak some truth here.
Yeah.
Often there are sponsored meals for retailers. Basically, like we can get a free meal if we sit through some presentations by publishers. And that's not inherently bad. The problem is often it's information we already know. And giving presentations, there are people who are good at giving presentations. There are people who are terrible at giving presentations, and you just get the mix there.
And there are people who give baffling presentations.
And there are people who give baffling presentations. Can I just tell a story? I'm not going to name names, but I remember this wasn't a GAMA. This was the Alliance Open House.
It was, yeah.
There was you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do. This was my first ever trade show experience, so this sticks with me.
This particular publisher had a 30-minute slot to talk about and spent fully 20 minutes talking about a motorcycle road trip, cross-country trip, beautiful pictures of scenery.
Yeah, they were gorgeous.
We're like, where is this going?
Yeah.
And in the last 10 minutes, there were pictures of evergreen trees.
Yep.
To talk about evergreen games. It was mind-boggling.
Yeah, it was whiplash. The first 20 minutes, I thought like I should be in someone's living room in the dark watching this slideshow with a cocktail in my hand.
It was entertaining.
It was.
There's a big gamut. But yeah, a lot of these sponsored things are just, okay, we're a captive audience. We'll hear about some things. Something that is happening later, I know Asmodee. I actually reached out to my Asmodee rep to give them some constructive, positive feedback about this.
Shout outs to Josh, by the way. Really nice guy.
He's amazing. Yeah. We'll get to see him. We get to see him at GAMA. But Asmodee is doing one of their presentations is a hands-on. So traditionally, publishers, they've got you in a room for 20, 30 minutes, and they're just going to show you a slideshow presentation. Hey, here's the games we have coming out. And again, if you're, in my mind, worth half of your weight as a retailer, you already know. Your buyer's got to be looking at this stuff to know what's coming out.
Yep.
So it's usually not super useful information. What I've wanted for years is publishers should use that time, and we've seen this. We saw it at the Alliance Open House one year.
Yep.
Instead of, hey, come into a room and have a slideshow, hey, come into a room, we've got games set up on tables. We're going to teach you how to play a couple of our games, or better yet, teach you how to teach a couple of our games, how to demo a couple of our games. That hands-on experience, like I'm going to get way more out of learning 2 games than seeing a slide of the 20 games you have coming up over the next year. So
100%.
I strongly encourage all publishers to move to that model because it's just way more useful and interesting and interactive and more memorable for us too.
Yeah. Well, we're getting close to the end of our time here, so let's speed it up.
Speed run.
This shows you, though, just how jam-packed this is. And we're only on Tuesday. So creating a hobby ambassador is one that was really interesting to me. Sort of like I try to be about RPGs, but how can I be better at that? How can I help the rest of our staff get better at it with, the arm of tabletop gaming that they are most into?
Yeah.
I just love that idea. So needless to say, I picked up that seminar.
I've invited, there's several people I mentioned that are going to be new to GAMA. My friend Tim Fowers of Fowers Games, Burgle Brothers, Paperbacks, it's fantastic stuff. He has never made a strong push to be into retail stores. He is available. If retailers know, they can go to the website and get a wholesale account, but you don't see his games in a lot of stuff. And interesting talking to him. There are a variety of reasons for that. Issues with how distribution works and things. He's just decided to completely circumvent most of the system, which has worked well for him. His company is very successful, but he also now wants to get into more retail stores. And going to GAMA is part of that. And I'm going to be introducing him to the retailers that I know.
His games do gangbusters for us.
They have for years. For years they have. So that's one. But then another one that's really cool, I haven't talked about them in a while because we've been pretty much sold out since the holidays. The Zola gaming tables. The CEO of Zola is coming. This is important for me. Like, I love the tables. We're carrying them. But as I've mentioned before, I love having a gaming table that can be displayed in retail stores. So people get a chance to see them. Normally, people only see gaming tables at conventions. And so, again, introducing him to retailers. I believe he's going to have a table so that people can see it. I just want more retailers to be bringing this into their store and showing people, and it's just fantastic.
Also a really good dude, and that's what a lot of this is too, is getting good people connected with each other so that they can help each other out and help out the community together.
Absolutely. So those are just some fun things. Oh, you're going to do a seminar.
Dan B and I are reprising our seminar from last year on bringing indie RPGs into your store. And so this is obviously retailer focused, although we get publishers and distributors and designers who attended last year as well, because they wanted to hear the retailer perspective. This is the why do you want to bring indie RPGs into your retail space, but also how do you go about doing it? Because it's not always straightforward how you get this stuff and how you would choose what to stock. So we give our insights from having done it for years and years and having really grown that part of our business in a big way, how other retailers can do that. If you are a retailer and are interested in this, but you're not going to GAMA, feel free to reach out to us from our store website. We've got a contact form. I'm happy to share insights that way. But obviously, if you can make it to one of these seminars, we go into detail and we've got a slideshow and share numbers and all of that.
Yeah, 100%. Wednesday is the first day of the exhibit hall. The exhibit hall opens in the afternoon. So during the morning, there'll be a lot of publisher presentations to go to. I think Asmodee is doing that game time that I mentioned. But just another, there's a publisher spotlight focus on role-playing games. I'm not sure what that is. But
it's multiple publishers getting together to present what the space looks like for them.
Very cool. And then the bulk of the afternoon, the exhibit hall, which we kind of approach with, we've got a big list of publishers that we definitely want to see, that they've sent us emails or there's something interesting.
And we have a map of the exhibit hall
Got a map of it, but we usually the first day is just walk it. Walk it, find what you find. If you see one of the publishers you're interested in, go ahead and go talk to them. And then Wednesday evening, we can reconnoiter and say, okay, did anyone see, what of these things have we checked off our list unintentionally, as it were? So Thursday can be more focused. Okay, we definitely need to see X, Y, and Z. But there's Stonemeyer. Stonemeyer throws a party at a bourbon bar. I went last year, super fun. Again, this is just, that's in the evening. This is just connections with people, you know, getting to hang out, meeting new people. I've learned so much about being a retailer from just random encounters with other retailers I'd never met.
And that is a thing that I think a lot of like corpo speak language tends to obscure. So much of business is literally just talking to people, is literally just sort of getting out of your bubble, introducing yourself to someone. I say this as a heavy introvert. It is worth it because you meet great people in addition to the business side of things. You just meet interesting, fascinating people.
Yeah. And then as I look at Thursday, really the only thing on Thursday is the exhibit hall. So Thursday night, maybe we can have dinner with someone. Be the other option.
We'll see. Dan, M, and I have this dream of getting to go to a really good steakhouse there in Louisville. We tried to do it last year, couldn't manage it. This year we have vowed we will find a way to get that in.
I thought you were going to talk about White Castle.
Well, that's Dan B and I. We don't have White Castles in the Pittsburgh area. Anyone who grew up in an area with White Castles like the Midwest, you really crap on them when they're there. When they're not there, you miss them, and you will eat a whole sack of them when you get the chance. So that's on the docket
That'll
too.
happen. Cool. All right, that's about what we got time for. We got to get ready to open the store as usual. But
you'll be hearing from us during the week. It's important to say we'll put up some short videos. Talk about things that excite us. Show off some stuff. We want to give anyone who can't go a little taste of the experience.
And hopefully, again, you saw the schedule. If we can find time, maybe do another, just a long form podcast like this from the show.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what we have
try.
For. All right. Until then, if you don't see us during, you'll see us afterwards. We're Kylie and Chandra. I don't think we said our names this time. We just assume they know us.
He's Kylie, I'm Chandra.
Yep, that's true. All right. Go unbox some fun. Talk to you soon.